Hey to everyone. This story is about she lived for 99 years with organs in all the wrong places and never knew it. And I'm kind of shocked to find out how this happened. I mean, really, uh, it is shocking. On an early spring day in 2018, the faint smell of formaldehyde floating in the air. 26-year-old medical student Warren Nielsen and four of his classmates prepped a cadaver in the chilly dissection lab at Oregon Health and Science University in Portland. So there was uh, a, a, a formaldehyde smell that on that spring day in 2018 of last year, and of course Warren Nielsen and four of his classmates had to prepare a cadaver in a chilly dissection lab. Ugh. Similar groups of five gathered around bodies on the other 15 tables in the anatomy class, all eager to explore the mysteries of the human body they had seen only in textbooks. So yeah, so all these they're all students really, so they're learning. There was five gathered around bodies at the 15 other tables. You got to have five people, of course, and of course they have to explore the mysteries of the human body that they saw in textbooks, and I guess you could touch them or whatever. The cadaver assigned to Nielsen's term was a 99-year-old woman who had died of natural causes. Her name was Rose Marie Bentley, but the students didn't know that then. To honor and respect the privacy of those who offer their bodies to science, no further details are given medical students about the person who had once inhabited the body lying on the silvery slab before them. So, yeah, the one team, not Nielsen's or Nielsen's, whatever, don't judge me on words I can't pronounce. They had a 99-year-old woman that she died of natural causes, and her name was Rosemary Bentley. And I guess they couldn't get any no other reports about her because it was private. And of course, I guess the family of her, don't want it to get out, so they just got little information as much as they could. And of course, here in the picture is Rose Marie Bentley, and this was taken not long before she died, and she was the one that donated her body to science. But as the students and their professors were soon to find out, Bentley was special. So special, she deserved her own unique spot in medical literature and history books. So yeah, so Rosemary Bentley was a very special woman, and she was unique. Uh, and of course, the professors will find out the reason. A condition called situs invarius with levocardia, in which most vital organs are reversed, almost like a mirror inside the body. That, along with a host of other weird but wonderful abnormalities, made Bentley a sort of medical unicorn. So Rosemary Bentley, her bodies were reversed. How that happened, I don't know, because I'm not sure how that happens in anybody. So it was, but a wonderful normalities, of course, and she was like a medical unicorn. I think the odds of finding another person like her may be as remote as 1 in 50 million, said Assistant Professor Cameron Walker, who teaches the foundations of clinical anatomy class at Oregon Health and Science University. I don't think any of us will ever forget it, honestly. So yeah, it's like a 1 in 50 chance, so 50 million chances, I should say, that you would try to find somebody else with that same thing, with the organs being reversed inside you. But of course, you wouldn't know that unless you have tests done or something like that. And it's really sad to have people's organs reversed inside them, because you never know what could happen in any case. On this March day, the assignment was to open the body's chest cavity to examine the heart. It wasn't long before Nielsen's group began to question their fledgling medical knowledge. So they had, so their assignment was to open up the chest cavity to examine the heart. That was it. But instead, they got a lot more than what they bargained for, and they had to see how her organs were in her body because it was reversed. And it's not easy to examine anything like that. My heart was missing a large vein. Oh no, I'm sorry, excuse me. Let me retract that. Her heart was missing a large vein that's normally on the right side, Nielsen said. So her heart was missing a large vein. Now, how that happened, I don't know, because it's kind of hard to tell how that happened when a heart is missing a large vein. Where is it? We don't know, because it's everything's reversed in her. Bewildered, he and his team called the professors over and asked, "Where's the interior vena cava? Are we missing it? Are we crazy?" So yeah, his team called over the professors to ask them what happened to the interior vena cava, and are we missing it? And then they asked, "Are we crazy?" So the professors came over and rushed as soon as they called them, and they kind of rolled their eyes. Nielsen said, like, how can these students miss this big vessel? And they come over, and that's when the hubbub starts. They're like, oh my God, this is totally backwards. Yeah, so the team of Nielsen thought it was a joke, but it's not. But the students from other tables, they came over and they rushed over and they said, like, oh my God, this is totally backwards. Well, yeah, because Rosemary Bentley was a very special kind of person, that her organs were reversed. A typical body has a large vein called the vena cava that follows the right side of the vertebral column, curving under the liver and emptying deoxygenated blood into the heart. So I'm sorry if I can't pronounce these words right, because I'm not good at them. So there was a large vein called the vena cava. It goes on under the liver and emptying deoxygenated blood. I don't know. I guess that's how you say it. And it into the heart. Bentley's vein was on the left, and instead of terminating directly into the heart, which is typical, her vein continued through her diaphragm, along the thoracic vertebrae, up and around and over the aortic arch, and then emptied into the right side of her heart, Walker said. So her organ, one organ that they thought was missing, it just was all over the place. Let me put it that way. It was all over the place, and it's kind of hard to figure out what's what. And of course, here in the picture, as you can see here, how Rosemary Bentley's Baronet Vena Cava is. And give you a few seconds to see this before I move on. Normally speaking, none of us have a vessel that does that directly, he added. That wasn't the only irregularly Walker and his students found in Bentley's body, so that wasn't the only thing they found in her. I'm pretty sure they found some other stuff too that she had in her. Numerous veins that typically drain the liver and other parts of the chest cavity were either missing or sprouting from the unusual spot. Her right lung had only 2 lobes instead of the standard 3, while the right atrium of her heart was twice normal size. So there was one of her lungs had 2 lobes instead of 3. So how she managed to live through that, I don't know, but she did, and it's very unusual to have something like that. And of course, her heart was twice the normal size as you think it is. And usually a heart is supposed to be normal size, but not with her. Hers is twice as normal. And instead of having a stomach on the left, which is normal, her stomach was on the right, Walker said. Her liver, which normally occurs predominantly on the right, was predominantly on the left. Her spleen was on the right side instead of its normal occurrence on the left. And then the rest of her digestive tract, the ascending colon, was inverted as well. So, yeah, her liver was on the right, or it was on her liver that was supposed to be on the right was on the left. Her spleen, that was supposed to be on the right, but instead that was on the left. And her digestive tract, it's kind of, well, it's there, but it's not to where you can get at it right away because it was backwards. And of course, the colon was inverted as well. The mutations in situs invarious with levocardia occur early. Walker explained possibly between 30 and 45 days into the pregnancy. No one knows why. All right, so that happens in between 30 and 45 days into the pregnancy. And why does it happen? Nobody knows. It's kind of unusual. As you see here in the picture is the normal anatomy compared to situs invenius with levocardia. And of course, I do believe here on the left might be the normal one, and on the right, this has got to be the one that's backwards right now. The condition occurs in only 1 out of 22,000 babies and is invariably associated with severe congenital heart disease. Because of the heart defects, only 5% to 13% live past the age of 5. Case reports mention one 13-year-old boy and a 73-year-old who at the same time was the second longest survivor. So yeah, so that's a pretty long life to live. There was a 13-year-old boy and a 73-year-old that had were the second longest survivors. And this happens in 1 out of 22,000 babies, so it's very rare this happens a lot. But Bentley was abnormally one of the few born with the condition that didn't have heart defects, Walker said. That is almost certainly the factor that contributed most of her long life, he said. So yeah, it was one of the few, she was one of the few born with the condition. and she had contributed most of her long life, and that, along with all her other exceedingly rare abnormalities, is what makes Bentley 1 in 50 million, Walker estimates. So yeah, yeah. So Walker is saying that she was 1 in 50 million with this rare condition, or with her organs being in backwards. Rosemary Phelps was born in 1918 in Waldport, a small town on the Oregon coast. The youngest child of four, she was babied, said daughter Patty Helming, who at 78 is the oldest of her five children. She would admit she was spoiled. So Rosemary Phelps was born in 1918, and Waldport is a small town in Oregon. So she was the youngest of the four children, and she would admit she babied, and her daughter was babied a lot because she was the youngest, I guess. And Patty, who was 78 years old, of her five children, and also Patty would admit that she was spoiled. A hairdresser by trade, Bentley was always fascinated by science, having remembered excuse me for coughing, and she believes her mother would have made a fine nurse if she had been given the opportunity to train. Yeah, so her daughter believed in her. She would have been a good nurse if she was given a chance, but and Bentley was fascinated by science. I guess whatever science you could bring up to her, she was fascinated by it. Um, she would have been a fine nurse if given the opportunity to train. But she died too soon, I guess. At a good age. It's a very good age of 99. She volunteered during World War II for one of the nurses' aides corps, Helming said, and she was thrilled when someone reached out to her about doing a study on smallpox survivors, which she has a child. I'm sorry for all this coughing. I'm tired of being sick. So she volunteered during World War II. She was a nurse's aides corps. Bentley was going to do a study on smallpox survivors, and I guess when you don't get your child vaccinated, yeah, you're going to get smallpox, whatever other diseases out there. And she had, and Bentley had them as a child, so I guess it's not fun to have them because you'll be scratching and everything else, and ugh, I don't even want to think about it. Despite chronic heartburn, which would have been explained by her unusual gastric anatomy, Bentley never showed any negative effects from her flip-flopped innards, said 76-year-old Ginger Robbins, the third of Bentley's children. So she also had chronic heartburn. I oh, it's just heartbreaking to know, and you're going to have other problems with it. She never did any negative effects from her flip-flopped innards, so that's one thing her 76-year-old daughter Ginger Robbins has said. But it is very heartbreaking to know that somebody would go through stuff like this. And of course, here in the picture, you see Rosemary Bentley with a big catch. Wow, that's a big fish. I have to tell you, that's a big old fish. What kind of fish? I don't know. We had no reason to believe there was anything like that wrong, Robin said. She was always very healthy. She was always doing something, taking us to campfire girls, fishing, swimming. She was an excellent swimmer. So Rosemary Bentley, she was the healthiest woman ever. She was always doing something like taking her kids to campfire girls, fishing, swimming, and also Rosemary Bentley was a very good, very excellent swimmer. The only clue anything might be unusual came when Bentley's appendix was removed, said 66-year-old Louise Alley, the fourth born child and youngest of the daughters. Oh, so now we got to find out what happened with her appendix after it's been removed. The surgeon made a note that her appendix wasn't in the right spot when they took it out, Ali said, but never said anything to us. Nobody said a thing when they took her gallbladder out and did a hysterectomy either. So, surgeon, they never said anything to Allie about her appendix, her gallbladder, her hysterectomy, nothing like that. I mean, why hide it from her daughter? I mean, she has a right to know what happened. The decision to become a body donor began with Jim Bentley, Rosemary's husband, but she too thought it was the greatest thing. Alice remembers. So Rosemary Bentley, she was married for a very long time. What happened to him, I don't know. And we're just going to have to figure out what happened to him. And her husband's name was Jim Bentley. And I guess that's where it all started from, with him having his body donated as well. There was a poem that my dad found, and it was all about donating your parts. She said, you know, give my eyes to a man who has never seen the sunrise and the like. He kept showing us the poem. It was really important to them. Yeah, so the poem that he wrote, it had give my eyes to a man who has never seen sunrise. So whoever the eyes were donated to that couldn't see, they that person must have felt some kind of relief, maybe or maybe not. I'm not saying that it did, and I'm not saying that it didn't, because there are things that can go wrong. So, you never know what you're going to get until you test it out. The poem written by Robert Tess opens with the line, give my sight to the man who has never seen a sunrise, a baby's face, or love in the eyes of a woman, and ends with, if by chance you wish to remember me, do it with a kind deed or word to someone who needs you. If you do all I have asked, I will live forever. So that poem is pretty wonderful. I like that idea for that poem. Give the man who has sight, who has never seen before, a baby's face, or love in the eyes of a woman. I think that is a wonderful poem that was written by Robert Tess. The couple's beliefs about donation made an impact. All three daughters plan to donate their bodies for research. Oh my gosh. So the parents of the three daughters, they had their bodies donated. So now the three daughters, they want to do the same, planning on doing the same thing for research. Jim Bentley kept his promise and donated his body when he died of pneumonia more than a dozen years before his wife's death. His daughters know that he would have loved to have known about his wife's particular insides, so he could have teased her about it. So I wouldn't be teasing anything about that. But Jim Bentley kept his promise. He donated his body. He died of pneumonia, and believe me, it's not a pretty thing to have a pneumonia. And if you're over a certain age, please get a pneumonia shot because it's not fun having it. And he would have loved to know more about his wife's inside so he could tease her about it. And that's just the way he is. And as you can see in the picture here, here's Rosemary Bentley, very young and beautiful. I have to admit that much. And 1 in 50 million gal, and she is a beautiful woman, being so young. He also would have been tickled. They could teach medical students something so different and really make some great use of her body, Allie said. Yeah, so he was very tickled about the way he would have tickled the students, the medical students, about how things are and something different about it. And what would Bentley have said about being a 1 in 50 million kind of girl? She would have just thought it was funny, Robin said. Allie agreed. She would have had a big smile on her face. Yeah, Jim Bentley, he was the type of person to say that she was a 1 in 50 million gal. Because he loved her so much. And she would have had a big smile on her face, but unfortunately he died of a pneumonia, and nobody likes to have a pneumonia. It's terrible. It's really terrible. And of course she's with her husband now, of course, up in heaven, while everybody else is doing research on the cadavers in the labs and everything. Leave your comments below. I am out.